Hi,
Hello.
Sarah. We've met before, haven't we?
Yes, literally a month ago.
Yes. How are you, lovely?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Good. Congratulations, guys, on such a gripping thriller. I was hooked from the beginning. An open question to everyone. What drew you to the project?
I think working with director Drew again, I'd worked with him previously before, and I knew that there was just so much talent and so much, artistic vulnerability laying dormant under the surface, that I knew, for me, that this story, and Jake particularly, was in really safe and comfortable hands. So I had to be a part of it because I wanted to see his vision kind of unfold in its entirety. And just exploring Jake, I think, is a really fascinating character, someone who's living in such a created utopia that he has no say in. I thought was fascinating, especially everything going on in the world around us, with COVID and the pandemic, and everybody kind of retreating into their own security, into their own bubble. So I think there was a lot that for me to kind of unpack from Jake and from an entire story. So that's kind of what drew me into it from the beginning.
Okay, I'll jump in. I was letting you go first, Alicia.
Oh, I'm sorry.
but I think that all three of us were really taken by this idea of these three characters who are kind of in this moment in their lives that are sort of stuck in some way. My character has, Jake's mum has died in our world, and this apocalyptic event that came around that time has made us sort of secure this utopian vision for ourselves. And so for me, what I loved about it was this relationship with this young man, and sort of shaping this young man into somebody who would be able to cope with the outside world and all the horrors of the outside world. And it's what we do, isn't it, as parents? And I thought it was really wonderfully written, that relationship. Unfortunately, I didn't get as much to do with Alicia, because her side of the story is very much with Drew. But I really liked how all the characters were drawn, and we've been talking off chain, the three of us, about Julian Estrada's incredible cinematography, and that being sort of like a fourth character. It's absolutely beautiful, the world that he creates, and kind of feels like something that you'd want to be part of yourself. But obviously there are other aspects going on in the world which are sort of equally terrifying.
Yeah.
I just loved the script for all the reasons these men have said. And I loved Henrietta. I wanted to play her. She seemed so interesting and different and very grown up and complicated. And, she's starting her life over. She's trying to find herself again. And she's retreated to a life that's more simple and, without all the bullshit. And so that's why I think she's so connected to Jake, because he's so grounded, and there's a gentlemanness to him that's so pure. He brings her, what are they, what were the things that you brought? They're like mussels or something, and he brings them, and he's so proud of this gift that he's done and that he's worked so hard to get. But it's normal for him. He's just so he knows how to do everything. The way his eyes, when we would work together, I would just, luckily Drew had embodied this character so beautifully with such depth. So I was, as my scene partner, it was so wonderful to just look in his eyes, and he was so present, so layered with what's going on, the complications of where he comes from and what he knows and understands with what he's experiencing right now, which is this, he's so taken. And so I think everything that he represents is helping Henrietta to heal and discover that everything she's after could exist, that there is beauty in the world, because he's talking about things so beautifully and recognizing the beauty in the world. And he's got this nature living down pat. He knows what he's doing, and it's so inspiring to her.
Absolutely. What I do love about this film is that it's kind of about the fragility of relationships and the kind of hope that we put on our parental figures and these new figures. It's particularly with you, Drew. How did you develop that with Stephen and Alicia?
Yeah, I think each very differently. Coming from my perspective in how I dealt with them, not only as actors, but for the character. Stephen and I, we had such a very little time to develop a bond. These are two people who have basically only seen each other for a great many of years. So we wanted to kind of pick and prod and see what were some things that we could do to get familiar. And what would it be? What does that mean to be in a very, very close environment with one person for that many years? And so we wanted to kind of just rub shoulders and be near each other and just develop this chemistry of spatial awareness. And because I think your consciousness begins to blend in a way. I think that you have this sort of sixth, seventh sense of where this person is at all times and almost what they need or what they're going to say and how they react. And so that's kind of interesting to really think about and unpack, because Steve and I, we wanted to kind of develop that and make sure that was something that was present. And there's little nuances that I think him and I are very proud of in the film that we've kind of developed and closing in on that spatial awareness that these two have and what it would mean to be together for that long of a time.
Finishing each other's sandwiches.
Yeah, exactly. And with Alicia, I didn't want to be too familiar with her. And I think her and I met and it was just inevitable. She's just so humble and so open and so generous that she made it very easy for me to kind of engage with her. We had some intimate scenes, so that always makes it easier. At least for me, it made it a lot easier to look into her eyes and know that she was very present. It makes me present, and that she was very vulnerable and open. And it's just one of those things where you just kind of go with it and you ride with it. And she made it very easy. She made it very easy because Jake is someone who's supposed to be taken by this woman and in more ways than one. And she kind of embodied everything that Jake was going through. She is a very, very, very important character in his world and in his reality. So with her, it was like just this awestruck moment of who is this beautiful, beautiful creature that I've just come across, and I just was studying her in every aspect. So that's kind of how I approached it with each of them. If I'm rambling, I don't know.
No, that's a beautiful answer. And unfortunately, that's all I have time for, but it's a fantastic, fantastic performances. And thank you.
I'm sorry I took up all your time.
No, honestly, a great answer. Thank you for talking with me today. I hope you guys have a lovely day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey You Guys, huh?
Hey, you guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yes.
Nice.
Hey!